So just to start off the webinar, I want to talk through completing your jury process so that what artists see goes as smoothly as possible for you guys. Artists can see their status. So on the jury administration page, if you're using the ZAPP jury, there are a couple of settings on here that are going to prevent artists from seeing their status and prevent them from purchasing booth products. So artists can see their status once the jury status is set to complete and once the hide current artist status is set to no. If the jury status stays in progress, what you'll see on the artist side is just that the status currently is jury in progress. One of the things that admins do is that they will keep their jury set to in progress and their hide current artist set to yes until they're ready to actually release results. So even though your jury is complete, you might keep these settings set the way that I have them now so that artists can't see their status or purchase any booth products. Booth products can only be purchased if the hide current artist status is set to no. If the hide current artist status, for example, is set to yes, but the current jury status is set to complete, then artists still won't be able to purchase booth products, even though your jury is technically complete. So the things that you want to make sure that you do before you open up booth buying, you're ready to release statuses, even if you're not selling booths through ZAPP, it's good to make sure that you do these things so that artists can see their statuses. You'll want to put your jury status to complete and your hide current artist status to no. So I'll save those. So now if I come over here and I refresh this page, we can see the actual statuses on their artist My ZAPPlications page. If you didn't know, the My ZAPPlications page serves as the landing page for all artists. So when they log into ZAPP, the first thing that they see is a list of the applications that they have on their active applications list. So right now, I just have the 3 that I'm going to go through for this Lilac event, but other artists might have quite a few more. They'll always be able to see their status right here. They can see the event dates in this view, as well as the event that they're referring to. So if I was looking for a specific application as an artist, because I had just received a notice that my result was out, I might collapse this view and then say, oh, okay, I want to look at this one, and I can click on that to expand it. So that's just kind of a nice, easy thing for artists to do to easily manage their applications on ZAPP and find your event really quickly. For booth purchases, if you're setting up your event so that artists who are invited can purchase booths, you'll want to do a couple of things. So the artist needs to be in either the invited, the accepted, or the confirmed status in order to see and purchase booth products. We always recommend the invited status because invited gives artists the option to accept or decline their invitation. This is really useful for you because say an artist accepts their invitation, they want to come, but they're not ready to purchase a booth yet. They will move automatically when they accept their invitation from invited to accepted, and same thing with declined. So if an artist declines your invitation, then you know that they're not planning on attending, so you're not waiting on them to purchase a booth. If you move your artist to accepted rather than invited, then they won't have the option to accept or decline that invitation, but they'll still be able to purchase booth products. So basically, we just recommend that admins place artists into the invited status once they are invited to their event rather than the accepted status. I know the terminology on your end can be used a little bit differently sometimes, like in your mind, you might be accepting the artist to your event, but the general workflow on ZAPP is to move them to invited first so they can accept or decline your invitation. The other thing you're going to want to check if you're selling booth products is going to be within your event editor on the event information tab, which is the first tab here. You have a line that is the accept invitation and purchase deadline. This is the deadline by which artists will need to accept your invitation and purchase any products. You can move this deadline kind of as you go. So say you have a deadline by which to accept your application, and then you have a later deadline by which to purchase products. If you want, you can set your accept invitation and purchase deadline to an earlier date. And then once that deadline passes, you can extend it to a later date, moving any artist who didn't accept your invitation by then to the declined status. So that's an option for you. I really want to call attention to this though, because a lot of times, because these dates roll over from previous years and they just go into the next year. So when we archive and copy your event, say this date might have been May 31st, 2020. You might just want to give another look over of the accept invitation and purchase deadline to make sure it's accurate for what this year actually is. A lot of times events forget to check this date and artists can't purchase products even though they've communicated to artists that products are available for purchase. The culprit probably 70 to 80% of the time is going to be that the accept invitation and purchase deadline is in the past, and that's preventing any artist from purchasing booth products or any other post-jury products that you may want to sell. To ensure that you can still sell booth products, you'll also want to come into the product editor tab and make sure that your booths and any deposit products, anything you want to sell really, is marked as active. If the product is not marked as active, artists will not be able to see or purchase those products in the ZAPP shop. So, if, for example, last year you canceled your event, you deactivated all of these products so that artists couldn't purchase any, you'll want to double check that you did indeed reactivate them for this year. A fun thing you can do with customization here is, say you're holding off on selling booths for whatever reason, whether it be cash flow or COVID reasons or just general uncertainty. You can, of course, just deactivate these products. That'll prevent artists from purchasing them. And then once you're ready, go ahead and activate that. Of course, we encourage you to communicate all of these details with artists before making changes to your activating or not activating products. The last thing that you may want to look at is the override purchase deadline. So if you check the box for override purchase deadline, this will override the accept invitation and purchase deadline. So artists can go directly to the ZAPP shop after your accept invitation and purchase deadline and purchase this booth product. The new deadline becomes your event start date. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want your event start date to be your deadline for purchasing booth products, I would recommend just extending your accept invitation and purchase deadline as you go. And then the last thing you'll want to do to kind of let artists know of their status so that they can kick off their post-jury process is communicate with them, of course. We have an events communication tool if you weren't aware. In here, you can do a number of things. So you can select the statuses you want to email. So I'm going to start with the invited status. And then right here with the do you want to filter application statuses further? If you have tagged or flagged applicants, you can include or exclude them here. So for example, if I click include only tagged flagged applicants, I can, for example, check the deposit person, the person who's in the deposit, and now the system will email only artists who are in the invited status who have been tagged with the word deposit. In this case, I'm going to send to all statuses because in this general process, you would send to everyone that you had selected. And then you can come into this section. We have a number of templates for you to look at if you would like. You're welcome to, of course, create your own, but you can look at the invited template to get an idea of what information you might want to include in your invited communication. Quick note that these fields that are highlighted in yellow do not autofill when you send this email, so you will want to fill those yourself before you do so. And then since this email would theoretically be sent after your jury, you may want to show anonymous jury scores and comments. You can merge that information simply by clicking the checkbox next to the show anonymous jury scores and comments line, and then you can choose to send either all the scores for that particular artist, or you can choose by round. When you send anonymous jury scores and comments, you're only sending the score and comment for the artist who is receiving that email. So the system is like pulling the score for that specific application ID and including it in the email. They're not pulling all scores for all artists and including that. Doing that can be really nice for artists who are in particular in the waitlist or the not invited status so that they can go ahead and grow and know what you might be looking for in future years. So now I'm going to go more into what not invited, waitlist, and invited artists' statuses look like. So invited, waitlist, and not invited are the three main statuses that artists will likely be in directly after your jury. For the not invited artist, you can see that my only options are to review my application or to archive it. I simply don't have any other options here because I can't purchase any products for this application ID. So if I go to the ZAPP shop and I look for a booth product that is associated with this application ID, I won't be able to see one. So ZAPP shop can be accessed by clicking the My Cart button here, or it can be accessed by going to the ZAPP shop line on the menu. So I have 3 applications to this event, but I only have one application section on the ZAPP shop page. If all 3 of my applications had been accepted, I would see this drop down 3 times, one for each application ID. As it is now, I only have the option to purchase booth products for the application that was invited to the event. My not invited application don't have the option to see or purchase any booth products. So I can choose to archive this because I can say, oh, well, I'm not invited to the event. I don't really want to look at this application anymore because I don't want it on my ZAPPlications page while I'm trying to monitor everything else. So if I archive this event, I'll get this page right here that asks if I want to archive and the following applications. Applications can be archived if you're in the not invited status or if event dates have passed. So even if you're invited, if event dates have passed, you can, like as an artist, you can still archive that application. For the artists who are in waitlist and invited, they can't archive their applications until the event dates have passed. If I did have other events, applications that I wanted to archive, I would see a list right here and I would have the option to select all. Right here, you get this warning message that archiving cannot be undone and put back in your My Applications link. I will tell you guys that if, for example, you request that an application be unarchived, or if an artist comes to us and asks that an application should be unarchived because they've been moved from, say, the not invited to the invited status, we can actually do that on your behalf, but that is something that only the ZAPP team can do. So if you're ever in a position where, say, you're pulling artists from not invited to fill the invited status and your not invited artist who is now invited needs to purchase products and can't because their application is archived, you can just go ahead and send us an email. You can do that just by clicking this ticket button right here, and we can go ahead and unarchive that application for you and that artist. It's a really simple process, so it's a really quick one usually. But that's just kind of a note for you guys. For waitlist artists, they'll of course see their status as waitlist right here. I'll close this one so we can just look at this. When any artist highlights over their status, they'll get a little definition of what that status is. But the cool thing you can do here, so of course this artist doesn't have the option to purchase any products and they don't have the option to archive their application just yet, but they can review it. On your end, what you can do is you can go to the waitlist status and you can include waitlist numbers. So I can go down here and I can enter in my waitlist numbers, the order from which I'll pull from the waitlist. I'll click update all, but you'll notice when we come over here, as the artist, I still can't see that waitlist number. That's because there's one setting that you'll have to turn on as the event administrator if you want artists to be able to view their waitlist number. So again, back within the event editor, at the bottom of the event information tab, you'll see the option to show booth assignments to artists and to show waitlist numbers to artists. I'm going to turn both of these on. Right now they're disabled. And this is going to allow artists both in the waitlist status and in the if accepted or confirmed statuses if they've purchased booth products or if you've entered booth numbers to see their booth assignment or their waitlist number. You can choose to only show waitlist numbers to artists if, say, you're not ready to release your booth assignments yet, or you can choose to just have these two active the whole time. It's really up to you how you want to do this. But if you have to go through multiple levels of approval, you can first start them as disabled, and then once everything looks good, you can activate them and you can activate them separately. So now if we refresh this page, I can see that I'm number 3 on the waitlist here. So I have a good sense of what my chances are of being pulled from the waitlist as an artist. As an artist at this point, I could also say create a tag or add a comment that says, so like maybe I was thinking about attending this show or another show. So I could add a comment for myself as an artist on this page that says travel from X event or possibly in place of X event. So that then I could, easily see at a glance, like that's what I plan to do. So I can see that my comment is here. I can also create tags as an artist. So if I, for example, want to list this as, first choice, then I can do so. So then I can do that way so that I can say like, oh, I'm on the wait list here, but this is still my first choice for an event on this weekend, event in this August weekend. So if I have a bunch of other applications here, I can filter and I can pull up just my applications that I've tagged as like my first choice. So that's kind of a cool thing artists can do to kind of manage their post-jury process if they're on the wait list or on any other status. Really, you can kind of customize this as an artist however you would like. So for example, a not invited artist could they could add a comment that says like, this is what my score was this year. And that's why I wasn't invited. So next year they could look back on their archived events and I could see any comments that I had left on them as well as an artist. I could also filter my archived events just like I filtered my active events. So that's kind of all you can do on the waitlist front until, of course, you're invited to the event. In the invited status, there's a lot more things for artists to do. So the first thing that I'll have the option to do is accept or reject my invitation. So I'm going to come in here. I have the deadline by which I need to accept or accept the invitation. So I can say, oh, I'll just going to decide later. That's still pretty far in advance. I'm waiting on results from another event before I decide. Or I can go ahead and say, no, I don't want to come right here by clicking the reject button. And I can also accept my invitation. So if an artist rejects the invitation and then later wants to actually accept it, they'll have to go through you guys to make sure that still works with what your actual plan is. Once they click one of these buttons, they can't essentially take it back. So they'll have to go ahead and contact you if they want to make any changes to their status. Right now, I'm going to accept my invitation. And now I'll have this purchases button instead. So I can purchase products either by going directly to the ZAPP shop or by purchasing products by clicking this purchases button. The purchases button will only show to the accepted and confirmed statuses. So some artists, for example, may just go directly to their ZAPP shop before accepting their invitation and they'll purchase a product. So if you purchase a product before accepting your invitation, rather than move directly from the invited to the accepted status, you'll move from the invited to the confirmed status. Artists who purchase a booth product always move from the current status that they're in to confirmed. So I'll purchase a product right now. I'm actually first going to purchase a deposit product to kind of walk you through what that looks like. So when I put a deposit product in my cart, and I go through the process. First of all, I can update the quantity so I can purchase up to 9 of any specific product. I can add any coupons that I have. You can create coupons by going to events, coupons, and you can enter any that you want to give out here. So if you're giving out a like purchased before, early purchase or early bird deadline for your booth products, if you purchase by X date, your booth is slightly less than it would be if you purchased last minute. You can create those codes here and then send them to your artists. You can control the deadline so that if you do have things like that early bird deadline, then you can kind of control when that coupon no longer works really easily. I don't have a coupon for this one, so I'm just going to move to the next section. So then I'll move to payment information. Most artists pay by credit card and PayPal. Since this is a test event, I'm just going to pay by check. If I were to click credit card and PayPal, though, I would have the option to click credit card or PayPal, and then I would have the card maybe that I want, or I could choose another way to pay. Enter a card directly into the system by clicking card. We accept Visa, MasterCard, and Discover. We don't accept Amex, American Express, but an artist can add their card information here, and then they can choose it, or they could choose another way to pay. Click PayPal and navigate to PayPal. The card that you're seeing right here is one that I have saved in my personal profile for my artist account. So to get to that, if an artist wanted to say save a card before purchasing products, they could go to their profile by clicking either their name up here, or they can click profile from the menu. And then at the bottom of their profile, they have a section where they can edit or delete saved payments, or they can add another saved payment if there's one here. If there aren't any here, it'll just ask if they want to add any. So I'll go back to my cart so we can finish our transaction. You can see that even though I navigated away, that product is still in my cart. So I'm going to skip down to step 4, click check. In the check, with a check, you'll have the option to add a check number. Check number has to be added, as well as any notes. So this could be sent X date, or I know some events, this happens a little bit less now, but some events sometimes ask that artists put their booth preference in the notes section. The notes section will appear for both credit card and check transactions. So I just am going to include sent by X date. I'll submit my check payment. And I will get this receipt right here so I can see all of the information. If a check payment is the one selected, I'll see where I should send that check as well as any pertinent information. If they pay by credit card, they won't have the information about where to send by check, but they'll have transaction information about that payment. If I then go back to my ZAPPlications page, I can see that I purchased a boot product on May 20th, 2021. My status is moved to awaiting payment by check rather than staying where it is, because I sent a check essentially. And it wants to really keep it simple for you guys so that you're not trying to hunt down payments, check payments inside of like the invited status. So I can click on the transaction, the 1 times 50, to see my receipt, as well as get that information about where to send my check again. And I can, of course, print it from here. I can also see the message I sent, and all of my purchase history is saved on the My ZAPPlications page. If I come back over here to the events management page, I can now see that I have an artist in awaiting payment by check. And the cool thing here is that they've also been tagged with the deposit tag. So deposit products automatically tag an artist with the word deposit rather than moving them to confirmed. So that's the big difference between booth products and deposit products. Deposit products just tag an artist. If an artist had paid by credit card, they wouldn't have changed statuses at all. And then if I had instead paid by, and then if I pay by check, of course, I'm going to move to awaiting payment by check. If I purchase a booth product as an artist, I'm moving directly to the confirmed status. So for example, if you collect 50% of your booth products upfront, and then you collect another 50% at a later date, you'll want to use a deposit product for artists to purchase first, and then you'll use a booth product for artists to purchase second. The deposit product will say, if your booth is say $200, deposit product would be $100, and then the booth product that they're purchasing as like a part 2 would be another $100. So I can mark that I received the payment here, and then I can move them to the accepted status because they've theoretically accepted this invitation at this point. So I'll do that. And then once I do that, over here, that information is reflected as soon as you save so that the artist can see that like, hey, yeah, my check was accepted. And they can say, okay, now it's time for me to purchase my actual booth product. So say this might be at a later date, or it might just be at a different time. The accepted status and the confirmed status will also allow them to continue making booth purchases. So if I go back to my cart or click on the booth product, I can see the products in the cart. So I can see my booth options, and I can also see the deposit product still, but I will have this red text that states that the product has already been purchased, so I don't have to worry about purchasing it again. I'll add a regular booth to my cart this time. I'm just going to skip all the steps because I'm just going to go ahead and purchase this one product, and I'm still going to pay by check. Same thing here. The process is going to look the same, and then I can submit the check payment again, and I can as with the booth product on the artist side of ZAPP, I can still see the regular booth product that I purchased. Clicking on that receipt brings up the receipt again, or clicking on that link. I'm back in awaiting payment by check. So over here, I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to move this to received now, and I can move the artist to confirmed. If I had purchased the booth product with a credit card, I would have moved to the confirmed status automatically as an artist, and I wouldn't have this huge list of drop downs right here. So for this person, for example, you can see kind of what that timeline would look like by clicking on the status change history. So within status change history, you can see exactly which applicant moved themselves, like who moved who to what status. So for this one, for example, you can see that at one point, I moved an account to invited, then I moved them back to received, and then I moved them to exempt from jury. I forgot to mention it, but the exempt from jury status does allow artists to purchase booth products. The assumption is that they have already accepted your invitation by applying to the event as an exempt from jury artist. So if they want to attend your event, they can purchase booth products before the jury, or as soon as your jury is set to complete, hide current artist's status is set to no. But I can see that the person who moved the applicant from the exempt from jury status to the confirmed status was actually the applicant themselves rather than the administrator. And I can see exactly what time that happened. So basically, in this case, the applicant noticed that, hey, they were in the exempt from jury status 1 minute after it happened, and they went ahead and purchased their booth right away. They did use a coupon for that. So you can see any coupons in this payment section. So in this one, you can see that the coupon used was 2020 artist with a 100% discount. You can also see that I've tagged this artist as 2020 artist to kind of keep everything as smooth as possible on this end. So booth numbers, once you're ready to assign them, can be put in for any artist in the accepted or the confirmed status. So I'm just going to put some in now. So if I put in 1 and 2 for the booth products, click update all, and come back here, I can see now as an artist that my booth number is number 1, and I can say, like, okay, I know where that is. The other cool thing you can do with booth numbers is you can actually write in a word. So I believe I talked to someone about this yesterday, but you can put in, say a location name, or you can put in, I believe the situation then was that those artists had already purchased the booth. So that it was just, they had purchased it in 2020. So you can add in that text here and click update. And I can see that it was purchased when it was purchased. Or, you could put a location. You could say like, oh, in Town Square. So you'll be Town Square booth 1. So you could do that instead. And then the artist would be able to see that on their page as well. So that's a really nice thing to do, is to put the booth numbers in ZAPP as well. It might be a little bit of extra work, but it will allow artists to have like another place where they can see all of that information in ZAPP, so that they don't have to, search through their email a ton. When it comes to emailing artists, you can also come down into events communication, and for both waitlist numbers and booth numbers, you can merge those into your communication. So say, for example, you're sending an email ahead of your event, and it's like a month ahead, and you're saying like, oh, here's everything you need to plan for when you come. Here's your parking information. Here's all of your setup information, that type of thing. You can really easily merge booth numbers just by checking that box. This will prevent you from having to email each artist separately to send them their booth number through email as well. You can really easily do that there once you have actually put in your booth products. Once an artist has purchased their and is essentially confirmed for your event, that's kind of all that they're going to need to do on ZAPP. So I just want to talk through it a little bit, because the event gallery is one of our newest features. It's going to be automatically turned off for your event unless you choose to turn it on. But you'll notice that you have a new tab right here called Gallery Details. So the event gallery is essentially a public gallery that pulls all of your artist images for your accepted and confirmed artists into a gallery that the public or anybody could browse online. So if I put in my link for this event gallery, I can see what the gallery looks like. So I'm just going to kind of walk through it, give a bit of an overview. So it will pull your logo. You can choose what information it pulls, but I've included everything I can include. So it's going to pull my logo. It pulls the event name, of course, the event dates, where the location is, and then there is a summary. The summary can be customized by you guys by coming into the gallery summary and updating it so that it's not so normally we recommend the event summaries are directed at artists. For your gallery, you might want to update it so that it's directed more at the general public. So you can control that information here, or if you want, you can just flat out not display it and kind of call it a day there. But over here, you can also link to your event website as well as your social media accounts, so Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If I scroll down, I only have 2 artists in my accepted and confirmed statuses. So I only have 2 applicants here. But as a patron, say I could search for a specific artist name. So if I search for myself, all that comes up is my own artist account. I can reset just by clicking reset, or search for nothing. I can also change the location. So I'm viewing artists by what state they are from. And as a patron, I can filter by medium category. So say I'm really only interested in photography, I can search for any artists who are in the photography medium category to purchase from. I can view the gallery in 2 forms. So this is the gallery form, but I can also see a grid view instead, or I guess this is the list view, the other one's the grid view, but that one's like the main gallery view, and this is more of a listing that shows where the artist is, what their booth number is. So, say if you wanted to find them at the event, you could find their booth number here as well. And then I can click on the artist and see any artwork they've submitted. So I submitted a lot of sloths here. And as well as the information about that artwork and any details that the artist has submitted on their profile. So for example, if I had included a website, this one, yeah. So if I included a website, I could go, as a patron, I could go right to that artist's website, connect with them there, purchase any products from there, and find out additional information. So again, I can scroll through all the images that they submitted on ZAPP, see if I like it, and then I can visit their website as a patron, or just if I'm curious for more information. Down here at the bottom, people can navigate between the previous artist and the next artist. You will not see the gallery on, like, you won't get an easy link to it on ZAPP until you have artists in accepted and confirmed statuses. But once you do, I can go to, as an artist, I can see this view event gallery page button. So if you turn on the event gallery on ZAPP, and you have artists in accepted and confirmed statuses, so essentially you're ready to turn it on, then this event gallery button will show up. And I can click right here to get there. So if say a patron comes onto our site, searches on just like one of our general listings for your event, they can still get to your event gallery by clicking on the event gallery button. The one other thing I want to mention about the event gallery is that artists do have the option to opt in or out of the event gallery. So if I come into gallery settings, I can choose to be included or to not be included. Everybody's automatically opted in, but they can choose to opt out. So if I opt out, for example, you can see this on your side of ZAPP. So if I come in here, visit the artist information page, I can see that I am opted in right now to the event gallery. And then if I had opted out, I would be listed as like opted out of the event gallery. And then you could follow up with that artist and say like, hey, like it's really important that you're in our event gallery. Do you have a reason for not wanting to be in the event gallery? If so, what is it? And that type of information. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope to see you in a future webinar.